What's up, Nicotine? So, I think scientific reductionism hasn't explained love either. Um, because to explain anything, you've got to offer some explanation for how explanation itself is possible. Um, you've got to do metaphysics, in other words, and scientific reductionism's metaphysics are often um, covert and very seldom will the reductionist admit to having this sort of unconscious set of metaphysical assumptions because they'll say, no, I'm a scientist. Um, I only deal in facts. And based on empirical evidence, I have reduced love, the experience of love, to um, sets of interactions between chemicals in the brain. Um, and of course, behind the scenes doing all the philosophical work is a whole system of assumptions about the nature of human experience, causality, space and time, things that can't be directly observed have been um, inferred, um, hypothesized, so that all of these scientific theories um, could function, could reveal um, or offer certain predictive values to us. But of course, the predictive value of a scientific theory that, say when whatever particular, some area in the limbic system is active, that a sense of love will be present in the person's experience, the ability to predict that isn't really an explanation for love. Naturalism or scientific reductionism would say that, well, the brain state, the physiology, um, is the experience, and that there's nothing left over to say about it. But of course, any reasonable person is going to see that that's not an explanation at all, because the experience of being in love, while it may arise um, harmoniously with the physiological chemical change in the brain, is not identical to it, because here I am. Maybe I'm not experiencing love right now, maybe in the back of my mind, but I'm experiencing something. And that experience of something um, is irreducible to the brain. The brain is a thing that experiences, and it has this dual nature. Doesn't mean necessarily that we have to conceive of mind as a separate substance and the brain or matter as a separate substance, but it obviously is. It obviously has this bizarre and even mysterious polar nature. Um, there is an interior and an exterior, and it appears quite obviously to most people, at least most of the time. I think there are non-ordinary states of consciousness where subject and object are not so easily recognized as separate or dual. Um, and I think that experience should play a role in how we try to understand the relationship between mind and matter. But most times, the fact that there are certain mental properties about the way reality is and certain material properties about the way reality is, um, for almost all intents and purposes, that's a valid way of describing what's going on. Um, and we should never assume that we could reduce the mental properties to the physical or the physical to the mental. Um, I think they're both irreducible. So, but I also reserve the space for the mystery of the relationship between the two. Um, and, it's not because I am afraid of knowledge or that I reject science. It's just that the nature of explanation is such that you're always going to have to cope with a paradox, because our language, the tool we use to try to understand, is limited in certain ways. And yet, even though it is limited, it can evoke certain realities or reveal certain truths to us by pointing toward them. And in that way, doing metaphysics, doing philosophy is worthwhile, um, even though the most we can hope for is wisdom, sort of a practical knowledge rather than an ultimate knowledge of the way things are, that could be stated in some propositional form, like that love is this or that relationship between molecules in this particular region of the brain. First, to assume that that is the truth of the matter, I think is giving a sense of misplaced concreteness to what is essentially an abstraction, which was my point in my comment where I said that rather than mistaking the forest for the trees, reductionism actually mistakes the trees for the forest, in the sense that it gives us this picture of the universe as a set of general laws applying everywhere, in all times, all places, when it neglects the specific, the particular, the individual, the idiosyncratic, that which cannot be systematized. We shouldn't, even while we can decipher certain general truths about the way reality behaves, and even while these general truths may make it look like a sort of, mechanical playing out of predetermined events, there's also a degree to which it cannot be predicted. There is chaos. There's an element of surprise and creativity that emerges because there are particular entities, like individual human beings, that do unexpected things from time to time and alter the course of history. There are no future facts, I would argue, because of this irreducible element of novelty present in nature. And I think the presence of creativity is a function of the mental properties. Matter is more habitual. Mind allows matter to learn, to discover new ways of organizing itself. And, again, they both depend on one another. But, again, I love science, and I wouldn't want to put it down and revert to some mysticism. I think it's important to think through our beliefs and to base our beliefs on empirical evidence. But I don't think mere empirical evidence, especially the type gathered by the specific practice of scientific reductionism and all that goes with it, I don't think that alone is enough to give us an explanation for the larger universe that we exist within, or the specific perspectives from which we view and understand and live in this universe. Our consciousness, in other words. These are philosophical mysteries that science can help us elucidate, but will never provide us with an answer for in themselves. Science shouldn't be put up on such a high pedestal, I think, where we assume we don't need anything else in order to understand the nature of reality. Reality is more multivalent than that, I would say. And there are different kinds of knowledge involved in any integral or holistic conception of the way things are. So, yeah, thanks for the video, Nicotine. And, you can just respond with a couple comments or not. You don't have to post a video response if you don't want, because I know you already have, and it doesn't seem like there's much resonating between us. But anyways, thanks for listening. Take it easy.